Hello everyone, welcome back. So let us continue to design our button. So let us start by last time we had used this border property. So here in case if we don't want border, then we can simply put none. So here in this case you can see the border is gone. So in case if you don't want, we can make it none, else you can keep it. One more property that we can see is cursor property. So this property basically it will change our cursor when we hover it over our button. So we'll keep it pointer. So this thing this will change our mouse cursor. So we can keep it, or else I'll just remove it for now. So one more property which I would like to apply is opacity. So the maximum value is 1. By default it is 1. So if I put opacity 1, then you can see no difference at all. So if I decrease the value 0.5, so now you can see the difference in the visibility. So now if I make it 0.1, then it will be least visible, and if I make it 0, then it is gone. So opacity impacts the visibility. So here suppose if I keep it 0.5, so now with the help of opacity we can create a good effect on hover. So I'll just show you. Here currently the background is transparent, so let us remove this thing. Let us remove the transparent background. Okay, I'll remove this color property as well. Okay, so we'll just change the opacity. I'll make it 1. Yeah, so now you can see a good fade effect. Will be able to get it. So this was opacity. So I'll undo the changes. Okay, so that was opacity. So now let us talk about another property called transition. So now what this transition property does is, so whatever change is there in our element, suppose in this case we have button, so whatever change we make, so those changes will be done smoothly. So that is the job of transition property. So in this case what we are doing is we are basically changing the background color, and if you see it is quite rapid, it's not done smoothly. So in order to make it smooth, what we can do is we can make use of the property called transition. So now there are actually we can use 4 properties are there: transition property, transition duration, timing function, and delay. So all this we can write separately, or else directly we can write transition. This is basically shorthand property. We can write transition, and the 4 values we can directly put it here. So the first value will be the transition property. So property as in, here in this case what we are trying to do is we are trying to change the background color. So the transition property would be background color. So now after the transition property, next is duration. So for how long we want the transition to occur. So we'll just make it 0.5 seconds. So this was the transition property, and this is transition duration. So if we give only these 2 values, then also it will work. So let us see. So you can see the difference. So without the transition property and with transition property, you'll be able to see. Let me just remove and show it once again. See, here you can see it is quite rapid. Now with transition property, it is a bit smooth. So we have applied two of the properties. This is transition property and the second is duration. The third thing we can apply is transition timing function. Timing function is basically the effect. So we have different effects like linear, and then ease in, ease out. All those things we can apply. So if I put ease in, out, ease out. So this is basically the effect. So all of these effects are different from each other, like ease in, out. Starting and ending point, it will be a bit slower. In between, it will be a bit faster, I believe. So here we have given only 0.5 seconds, so it will not get much time to show this thing. So if I increase it to 3 seconds, so here you can see. So yeah, you can explore the properties and all. So I'll just put it back to 0.5 seconds. 3 seconds is too much. So we have applied timing function as well. The last one is delay. So if we want some delay in our this thing transition, so we can put it. Suppose if I put 1 second, so my transition will occur after 1 second. So now if I hover, you can see after 1 second the background color is changing. Yeah, so this is basically the job of transition, to make the changes smooth. So for now I'll just remove it. 0.5 seconds. Let me keep these two properties. Yeah, and then even if I don't mention this transition property, this, suppose in this case background color, still it should work. So if I don't mention any property, then this transition will work for anything. Suppose if I have on hover, if I'm trying to change the width of the button, still this will work. If I'm trying to change the height or anything, any changes I want to do, if I have not mentioned the property specifically, then it will work for everything. But suppose if I mention a property specifically, suppose if I mention width, so here I'm not changing the width, and if I put it, so now if you see our background color, the change in our background color will not be smooth. So you can see it's not smooth. Why? Because we have mentioned the property as width. So if we remove it, it will act for everything, and if we are sure for what we want the transition exactly, we can mention it there, or else we can remove it. So in this case, you will see it will work again. So this is basically transition to make our changes smooth. So next up we have transform property. Let us explore it. So like transition was used in order to make the changes smooth. So transform will basically help us to move our objects, move or rotate or whatever things we want to do with our element. It will help us to achieve it. So suppose now let me do one thing. Let me add the transform property. So transform, I can see a lot of things. So first, the simplest thing which I want to show is, let me show scale. So what the scale will do is, basically with the help of scale we can increase or decrease the size of our element. So now you can see, let me give a value 1. So by default all of the items are uh, all of the items have the value 1 only for scale. So now if you see, no change, but as soon as I increase it by 0.1, 1.1, so now you can see the difference. So the size of the button is increased. Similarly, if I make it 0.9, so in this case the size of the button should decrease. So you can see it is decreasing. So since I have applied only one value, so this will act for both width and height, but specifically if I want to mention width and height separately, then I can enter two values. The first one will be width and the second one will be height. So here in this case I'll put the value of height as 0.7 and I'll just save it. So now you can see, so the width has become 0.9 and the height is reduced to 0.7. So this is basically the scale property which impacts the size of the element. So this was scale, so instead of this I can specifically write scale x. So what it will do is basically it will impact my width. Similarly, instead of x, if I put y, then this will impact my height. Yeah. So you can see this. This is basically the scale property, with the help of which we can change the size of our element. So next we can use. Next up, we can use translate property. Translate. So translate. If I put translate x, so I'll give some value, suppose 20px. So what translate does is it helps, it basically moves our button. Translate. So since this I have applied translate x, so it will move along the x-axis, 20px along the x-axis. So here we can see it is moving towards the right. So if we want it to move towards the left, we just need to add a negative sign. So you can see it has moved towards the left. So this is moving across the x-axis. Similarly, if we want it to move across the y-axis, then just we need to use translate y. So now you can see it is moving upwards. So similarly, if I want it to move downwards, then just remove the negative sign and then check it. So this is translate. So other than this, we have the rotate property. So let us check rotate. So here I'll give the value 360 and then degree. So if I save it, so you can see my button will rotate for 360 degree, and then specifically I can give rotate x or rotate y. You can see if I change it to rotate y, so yeah, so we can make use of the transform property in this manner. Also, one more thing, we can see the importance of this transition property here. So suppose if I remove this transition and then if I check this, you can see, so we'll not be able to see the rotate. Why? So I'll just remove rotate. I'll just remove Y. Now let us see rotate. It won't show. Anyway, since it is 360 degrees, ultimate result is this only, so we'll not be able to see the difference. So let me make this thing 180 degree. So now you will be able to see the difference. So without the transition property, so this is the result. So now let me add back the transition property. 0.5 seconds, and let us check it again. Let me just save it. Sorry, I did not add seconds. So we can see the importance of transition. So we'll explore more next time. So thank you.